Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome to the stage, Kai Humphrey!
London, how the devil are you? You good? Yes, you sound good. It's always good to be here in London, but I have to have my accent on its best behavior the whole fucking time. This is world headquarters here. People from all over the world, and every time I talk to people, I can see them looking at me like, where's that fucking accent from, man? It's from Blythe. There's no Blythe? Yeah, one person knows Blythe. It's up near Newcastle, north of Newcastle, so I'm a Geordie. I've got a Geordie accent, and I live up in Scotland now, and my friend, who's a Scottish man, thought he was hilarious. On my 30th birthday, he bought me English lessons. And he bought them as a joke. But I did them. I've had the English lessons, because of course I did them. I'm from the north and free stuff. So I did these English lessons. I had to do them on Skype. I had one-to-one speech therapy lessons on Skype. One-to-one lessons. 3 one-hour sessions online on Skype with a fucking Irishman. And I argued with that man. I argued with him because he was trying to teach me English, and the whole time I was also trying to teach him English. And it got heated. On one of the lessons, he was trying to correct my glottal stop. I don't know if you know what a glottal stop is, but I didn't know until the lesson. So I'll explain. It's when you drop the T from the middle of a word that's supposed to have a T in the middle. A word like glottal. I would have pronounced glottal. Hotel, hoel, party, party. And he was teaching me with the word tattoo. So he was sat in his office, in his shirt and tie, at work, on the screen, seeing tattoo, and I was sat cross-legged on my bed, in my pajamas, high as fuck, saying tattoo. And I couldn't hear it any differently in my head. So he's getting frustrated, he's going, tattoo, and I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, tattoo? I'm saying tattoo. And he went, Kai, listen. Listen. All right, very funny. I get it. Now listen, tattoo. Do you hear it? Tattoo. There are 2 T's in tattoo. I'm like, nah, man, there's 3 T's in tattoo, you're full of shit. I'm teaching you English. I need to charge you for these lessons. So I've been working very hard at my first language, is what I'm trying to tell you. But I do love coming here to London. I love it here. But you know up north we call you Southern Softies. You know that, right? And you think that's banter. It's fucking real, man. You know you're soft. Look, I'll spin it for you. You're sweet. Is that better? Let me put it to you this way, right? I come to London a lot with this job. I've got a lot of friends down here, and when I speak to people, they're kind, and they warn me to be careful on my phone in public. I've heard it more than once. Be careful if you're walking along outside having a conversation on your phone, because somebody can cycle by, snatch the phone out of your hand while you're talking, and pedal off with it, and you've lost it. So be very careful out there, which is kind of cute, because I've spent over 30 years of my life living in Newcastle. I've spent the last 3 years of my life living up in Glasgow, north of the wall with the fucking wildlings. And I have been through that scenario a million times in my head. I can't see it going any other way than me ending up with a new bike. Don't just stand there while that happens. What are you doing? Get after them immediately. Like, you don't need to be tough or hard. You don't need to be fit or athletic. You're never going to catch them. They're on a bike. But if you do start moving immediately, you will give the mugger a feeling of hot pursuit. Make them pedal faster, run them into traffic, fuck it, kill them. Get your stuff back. Some of their belongings. Continue with your commute. I believe it's the northern way. But I grew up in a council estate in Blythe. And is there any American people in? Yeah. Yes, of course there is. Right at the front and very loud. Nice. Council estate, it's where we put the poor people, I think, in America, the projects. The ghetto? I'm from the fucking hood. That's what I'm telling you. I'm from the ghetto, right? But I've always called it the estate. When I talk about my childhood, I grew up on the estate. And I discovered recently that the word estate is a completely different word to a posh person. You know, if I'm talking to somebody from the upper classes and I tell them I started hanging around with some friends from the other side of the estate, they'd be like, oh, were you hunting guinea fowl? I heard it's abundant this season. Like, nah, mate. I've been pelting eggs at paedophile Terry's kitchen window. And hey, we did have a paedophile Terry on our estate. I'm not just making that up for a cheap joke at the top. Paedophile Terry, we called him Pedo Terry for short. And when I think back to my childhood, I don't think Terry was a pedo. Hear me out. This is what used to happen when we were children, and I mean children, like 8, 9 years old. We used to all stand at the end of Terry's driveway, about half a dozen of us, and just shout Terry's name. We'd all be stood there just going, Terry! Oh, Terry! Terry! And as soon as Terry's curtains moved, we'd pull out our little cocks and go, pedo! You're looking at kids' dicks, you fucking nonce! And then run away to try to get a chase from Terry. That doesn't make Terry a pedo. That's the opposite to being a pedo. Terry was harassed by children. I hope he's okay. You know, I think about him from time to time. In fact, fuck Terry. Fuck him, he did something, man. Kids know, we're switched on, he must have done something. I tell you what he did, he kept coming back to the curtains, that's what he did. Fucking Terry knew what was on the menu. But we terrorized those streets when we were children. We always did. Who's from the generation of kids that used to play out before the internet? A few of you? Sir, with the beard, what time did you have to come in? I think 6 o'clock? You wore a watch, you posh cunt? All right, now listen to this, 6 o'clock, that's a bit early, okay. But now people that grew up in council estates, what time did you have to come in? When the street lights come on. When it gets dark, the street lights come on, you know, your parents know, it's exactly where you synchronize on the street lights. So what me and my friends done is every street light that's in view of our parents' windows, we'd climb them like monkeys all the way to the top, and there's a little electrical node on the top that tells the street light whether it's night or day, and we'd wrench that off. And the street lights come on forever. And my mother would look out the window at about 5 o'clock and go, well, I don't want to hang out with them. You can stay out there. So my bedtime was around about midnight, but I had a carbon footprint the size of Godzilla. Never off the streets. And we used to think we were hard, too. We thought we were little gangsters. And I think it's because we had hard role models back then. You know, growing up in the 80s and the 90s. And I'll tell you who it was. The bin men. The bin men, that was a different breed, right? That was the grizzled old ex-miners. And they would climb into your garden. Even if you didn't open the gate, you didn't put your bin out for these bin men, they'd break into your land. Right? They'd climb your fence, they'd wrestle with your Rottweiler, and they'd grab a metal bin. Doesn't have wheels on it. It's made of metal, and it's full of hot coals. And they'd launch it over to another grizzled old ex-miner, and they'd do hundreds of these bins every day, right? And that's how it was then. That's who they were, right? Now, if you put your plastic bin full of cardboard all the way to the end of the curb, the bin man will look at it and go, well, we can't take that. The lid won't close. And we got into lots of fights, too, on the streets. And I was lucky because I got to practice fighting because I'm a middle child. I've got siblings that I practice with. I've got an older brother and I've got a younger sister. And what this means is my older brother used to get me in wrestling submission moves. And when I was being beaten up, I was learning because I needed those moves to pay forward to my younger sibling. That's what it is to be a middle child. I used to get my sister in a wrestling move. You might have heard of it. It's called the Walls of Jericho. Right, some of you know the Walls of Jericho, but not all of you, and I will leave nobody behind. This is it. My sister would be on the floor, where I fucking put her, by the way. I have other moves too. And I would pick my sister up by her ankles. Only her ankles. Her shoulders would stay on the floor. Her ankles would go up underneath my armpits. My arms would come in and around, nice and tight. Legs go nowhere. Shoulders still on the floor. And then what I would do is step over her hips and across and go, "It's the walls of Jericho!" She nearly lost the baby. That's what you're laughing at. Good. You can't unlaugh at that. You're going to hell. You know, it's always nice in a show to find out where the line is in any particular room, and it's wonderful to find out in this room there fucking isn't one. But I did start hanging around the street, the estate, with some friends that I started hanging around with a friend called Podge, who I barely knew, right? Him and his friends. His nickname was absolutely to do with his relationship with food, because we all had insults for nicknames back then. All of the boys, for sure. Like, my nickname was Weed, and it was because I was skinny. You know the kids' TV show Bill and Ben the Flower Pot Men? Weed. It was even a dated reference back then. I think one of the grown-ups gave me that nickname. But that was my nickname, and it stuck until about 1995, 1996, when Dr. Dre released the Chronic album, Snoop Dogg released the Doggy Style album, and pot culture became a thing in the UK, and weed become cool, and they fucking revoked my nickname. Every boy had an insult for a nickname. That's how it was. You never got that with the girls. You'd never meet a group of girls, and you'd be like, "This is Charlotte, this is Diane, this is Forklift Pat." You never got that. Girls, you were kind to each other. You were. That's why you live longer. But no, me and Podge and the boys were walking around the streets of Blythe looking for girls to chat up. Because that sounds crazy now, to go out into the street and chat up girls. But when we were 16, right, we didn't have Tinder on the Nokia. We're too young to go into the bars and the clubs, so you go around and you wander around the streets to bump into people to chat up. That's how it was then. Technology changed everything. The whole climate has changed because of technology. Like, there were no unsolicited dick pics back then. You know that, right? Okay, let's make this abundantly clear. There should not be unsolicited dick pics now. But back then, there were so many more obstacles between dick and pic. You know, if somebody wanted to send a dick pic back in the 80s and the 90s, right, you'd need an actual camera, a physical camera. And you don't have a camera on your phone, if indeed you have a phone. So you've got a camera, and there isn't a screen on it, so you're guessing. There's like a small window in the top corner that you could try and look through, but if you can reach that, just suck your own dick. What are you doing? What are you doing here? So you take a picture, click. And then, just because you've guessed what the picture would look like, you might want to take another one to be sure, but you can't do that straight away. You've got to rewind back this wheel with your thumb while trying to maintain an erection. And then click. And then rewind it back again. And then click. You're just taking a flick book of your dick going soft. And I do not know how many pictures you may want to take before you think you've got a good one, right? But let's suppose it's 6. Then you've still got 18 pictures left on the film. So you've got to go around the city doing a spot of tourism to fill the camera up. And then if you still haven't changed your mind and you still want to send the picture, then you have to go to the chemist. I don't know why in the UK you get your pictures developed at the chemist, right? But you'd have to go to Boots, like, "Could you have a look at my penis and see if that mole needs some ointment, please?" You'd put your camera down, you'd pay in advance for the pictures, you'd apologise in advance for the pictures, and then you'd go and just wait for 2 days while your picture gets developed in a dark room, and you've got time to change your mind. But if you still want to send the dick pic, you fucking psychopath, you've got to return to the chemist, apologise again, right? Find the picture that you want, go past the picture of the river and the castle from your bit of tourism, get the picture that you want to send, then what? Go to the girl's house, knock on her door, her dad would answer, and you'd be like, "Could you give that to Jill?" And it's going to get worse. The dick pic game will get worse as technology gets better. I believe this. It won't be very long at all before every household has a 3D printer. Yep. You're going to miss the pictures. You're going to miss the pictures when you get sent a physical dick. When you're hosting dinner, you've got the whole family around and a penis just starts materialising in the living room. You're stepping in front of it like nothing, Mum, it's glitching. Nice. I'm gonna need a new cartridge. Fucking $14.99 from Argos. And when it's finished, you tip it into your dick bin. You have a dick bin now. The year is 2025, you have a dick bin. It's the purple one. It goes out every 4th Thursday. You'll wheel it out, and they'll be like, Jill, we can't take that, the lid won't close. But yes, me and Podge and the boys were walking around the streets of Blythe looking for girls to chat up, specifically girls with big fringes. And I don't know if you remember the big fringes of the 90s, but it was before straighteners were invented. The girls got creative. And sometimes the fringe would leave their head around about here, and it would loop around, and it would rejoin their head here, and you could fit your arm through it. I honestly don't know how they did it. I can speculate. Imagine, like, they got, like, a tin of Pringles or something. Like, flopped the hair over it, and then got some hairspray and give it a whiz. And then maybe he's got the hairdryer to speed up the process. And then I don't know what, like, get a toffee hammer on. I've got no idea. I've only seen them in the wild. I've never seen them being built, but I suppose that's how they make them. But one thing I do know, the bigger the Geordie lass's fringe, the more likely she was to get off with you. So we were walking around the streets looking for these girls, and then it started to rain, and that caused a problem because a little bit of rainfall really compromises the structural integrity of a Geordie lass's fringe. And also, we are little gangsters, but we don't want to get wet. So I invited my new friends into my parents' house. My parents were both at work, and I knew they wouldn't take kindly to their house being full of other people's children. But I thought if I invite these lads in, I could get them up, play a bit of GoldenEye on the N64, steal a bit of my mother's vodka from our stash, and then get them out before my mum and dad finished work. That was the plan, right? I got them into the house. I made them kick all their trainers off when they come in because we're little gangsters, but don't fuck with Linda. So I got them upstairs, I got them in the room, I got the console on, and I went into the kitchen. And am I the only person who did this? Did anybody else used to pour your mother's vodka for your mates and then top the vodka back up with water at the tap? Did anybody else used to do that? How did we get away with that? Did we get away with that? Like, did one New Year's Eve my mum and dad just go to bed sober? Like, did I just cock-block my dad? So that's where we are. I'm getting my friends drunk. I'm cock-blocking my dad. We're all having a good time. And then I heard the key in the door, and I realised that my mum had come home from work early. She'd clocked off early. She'd come home, and I was upstairs with her. I knew I was in trouble. And God knows what my mother must have thought when she opened that door and just saw all of the footwear as soon as she came in. She must have thought she'd come home to a mosque or something. That's a bit contentious, isn't it? It doesn't feel... I haven't said anything bad. It just doesn't feel right. It was like she came home to a bouncy castle. Is that better? That feels better. Look, it was more like she came home to a bouncy castle because as soon as she stepped inside, she hit the roof. Oh, fuck you. Fuck off. Oh, I could have stayed on mosque like, oh, I'm an edgelord. Oh, councillors. She had a short fuse, but I'm better than that. I'm better than that. That's not who I am. She blew up. Like a bouncy castle. Fuck you. Like a bouncy castle. And she ran up the stairs, full of hell, bust into my room, and told me off with a play from the Mother's Playbook. And I know you all know the Mother's Playbook. So I'll give you a quick example. If I've left all of the lights on in the house, my mother will say to me, do you think this is Blackpool Illuminations? You know the playbook? So she went into the Mother's Playbook. She went to the page that said, my house is full of other people's children. And she used the play, do you think this is a hotel? I do not know what kind of hotel Linda Humphries thought she was... What kind of hotel she thought she was running. But I occasionally had to share the other guests' bathwater. And don't act like I'm the only working class person in here. I've got an older brother, and I would climb into his bathtub like it was full of tepid lemsip. He's definitely pissed in it. That's where I am. I'm bathing in my brother's piss. That's my childhood. And you can groan all you like, because I've got a younger sister, and I'd take a dump in it before she got in. Oh, that's where the line is. That's where you drew the line. You're like, oh, kill her baby, but don't shit in her bath. We'll have standards here. Psychopaths. All right, here is a play that my mother still makes to this very day. Right, I'm 39 years old now, but if I sit down on her couch in her living room and I have left the living room door wide open, she will say to me, were you born in a... barn? Were you born in a barn? Were you born in a barn? She would ask me that. That's all her. That's all her, none of me, if I was born in a barn. I'm sorry. But if she birthed me onto a bed of hay with no medical supervision, risking my life and hers, and then went ahead and called me a dickhead for leaving the door open, that's victim blaming, that mother. I'm being gaslit by this woman. Like, imagine my dad getting that phone call on night shift. I know my dad worked in the factory when I was born, and I know he would have worked right up until my arrival so he could take as much time off as possible, and he's expecting this phone call. So when he gets a tap on the shoulder, he's nervous, he's excited. You know, his wife's heavily pregnant at home, and this is the call he's been waiting for. He goes into his boss's office. He's like, is it the hospital? It's a farmer. What the fuck's a farmer want with me at 3 in the morning? Hello there, Mr. Humphrey speaking. Is she? She hasn't. In your barn? I'm very aware that's trespassing, sir. Yeah, of course, I'll come and get them off your land. Stay with them if you can. Can I just ask you a question? A boy or a girl? A boy? Another boy? Good. Good. Yeah, she'll want a third. Right, I'll be there, mate. Sorry, I'm on my way. Bye. Wait, man, can you believe that? Our Linda's just had the baby in the farm, oh, fuck. He's gonna leave all the fucking doors open, that boy. Do you think that is why we have advent calendars? In the build-up to Christmas. You know, so every day we can open a tiny little door to commemorate the baby Jesus, because he too was born in a fucking barn. I don't know, but I know that's the playbook. That's the playbook, and the play my mother used that day when I was playing on the console with Podge and the boys. The play she used was, do you think this is a hotel? And my friends knew what that meant, so they ran past my mother and down the stairs. They knew they weren't welcome. It was the other boys first, followed by Podge. It was like a scene from Indiana Jones. And then they put their trainers on and they fucked off down the street, and I was left in my bedroom angry. I'd just been humiliated in front of my new friends. And you know what? Like, image is important when you're that age, so I was really upset. I was upset with my mum, and I knew my mum was upset with me too, because even though she didn't tell me off any further after the boys left, she's just done that thing where she does really angry housework and you can feel it in your bones. And the housework she chose to do was to hoover the stairs. And I was in my room and I could hear her, I could feel it. She was just rattling the hoover head between the wall and the banister. And she just made her way up the stairs. And even though she was saying nothing, I could hear her internal monologue just screaming in my direction. And she was going, look what you've made me do. You made me walk up the stairs in the carpet with my outdoor shoes on, and nobody walks on the carpet with their outdoor footwear on in this house. We've got to keep this place looking like a show home the whole time. Even though we're going to live here for over 2 decades as a family, it's got to look like nobody's ever lived here. It's in case we invite guests around, so it looks nice, but actually nobody can invite guests because I'll throw them out the minute they come in because they make a mess. In fact, the more I think about this, the more I think I'm only doing it for my own mental illness. And my mother was screaming that silently in my direction, and I could feel it. So I needed to let her know that I couldn't give a fuck. So I put on my Limp Bizkit mini disc, and I I cranked that shit up loud. That's right, working class people make bad financial decisions early. Mine was mini disc. I got it in the catalogue and I'm still paying it off. And I cranked it up. And I just stood there in my room like, I'm rolling, rolling, rolling. Couldn't give a fuck, me mother. And while I was engaged in psychological warfare with my mum, I spotted something. There was an empty space on my toiletry shelf where my aftershave used to be. Right, my Lynx Africa was there in one piece. My Brill cream hadn't moved. But, right, I'm about to say the most Geordie sentence you will ever hear in your entire life, so lube up your ears. Some Raj packet had twocked me jupe and I went fucking akka. All right. I will leave nobody behind. Raj packet, numpty, doilum, bampot if you're Scottish. Twat? Had twocked. That's taken without consent. It's an acronym. It's what the police use when they do you for stealing a car. Don't ask how I know. So Raj packet had twocked my jupe. If you do not know what jupe is, congratulations, you are middle class. But where I am from, it's the smell of your first fingering. What? It's really strong and it's sweet and it really masks the smell of ammonia in the bush shelter. So Raj packet had twocked my jupe and I went akka. I went bananas. I had kittens. I was angry. Some rapscallion was on the move with my cologne and I was somewhat perturbed. So I grabbed my Nokia and I opened up a text message to Podge and I typed in the following message. 222-777-444-664 022-222-550-666-70999-666-880-333-280-222-8866-8 send. And if you forgot how to speak Nokia, that's bring back my jupe, you fat cunt. That message took me so long to compose. By the time I hit send, I wasn't even that angry. I body shamed that poor teenage boy in cold blood. And then by the time he replied, all one word, UFKNWOTM8. You fucking what, mate? And in the time it took him to send that message, he was at my door, and there was a knock at the door, and I knew that I was in a fight. I have to be in a fight. It's the rules of the council estate. It is. He stole my aftershave, so I need to fight with him. And I called him fat, and even though his nickname is a synonym for the thing I called him, I said it with intent, and intent is important. So he had every right to want to punch me in the face. I knew we were fighting. So I went down the stairs, and I opened that door, and when I think back, I should have used my jab. He's called Podge, I'm called Weed. There's a bit of a size difference, as you can imagine. I should have kept him at range, tired him out, and then moved in for the kill. But that's not what I did. And this is the move I made, and I don't know why I did this. If there's one thing I've learned in my 39 years on this planet, it is this. Do not use the discipline of sumo in a street fight with someone called Podge. It was his discipline. I locked horns with him. I grabbed him by the top of the shoulders, locked onto him, and his counter move was to wrap his arms around my waist, pick me up, and fall forward. End of fight. That was the end of the fight. I couldn't do anything after that. I'm stuck underneath Podge. I couldn't breathe. I was trying to breathe. I was trying to take short, shallow breaths, but I couldn't take a full lungful of air. I was stuck under him like a mechanic who had pissed off the mafia. And I could feel the dark clouds rolling in. I could feel myself about to pass out. And the worst thing is, all I could smell was jupe. He smelled lovely. I just wanted to kiss him. And just as I was about to pass out, just as I was about to step into the shadow realm, I heard this high-pitched squeal, a screech, and then he squealed again, and then he rolled off the top of me. And as the light come flooding into my world, all I could see was my mother, Linda Humphries, kicking the fuck out of him with a tin of hairspray. Just leathering him with the back end of the tin. And it's one of the greatest memories of my childhood, was opening my eyes to see my mother, who I was having beef with, just squash the beef to fuck up Podge with a tin of hairspray. And it was a good memory, but I feel like I missed out on the best parts, you know, because I was underneath Podge during the best parts. Like the moment when she arrived on the doorstep with one eyebrow raised like the Rock. I would love to have seen that. Just stood there like, if you smell... I smell jupe, that's nice, that. Who's that? And then I don't know if you remember when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was a wrestler. He used to do the people's elbow, and before he did this finishing move, he would pull off his elbow pad and he would throw it into the crowd. I like to think my mother did that also, but she'd been checking her blood pressure. And I would have loved to seen her choose her weapon. How was hairspray the weapon of choice? Out of all of the things in the house, she would have seen me underneath Podge. Time's ticking, you know. I'm about to pass out. She's looking through the window. She's perusing her arsenal. And she's just like, oh, I could use the Sports Direct mug. Don't want to kill him. I'll use the hairspray. And if you're wondering why the hairspray was next to the Sports Direct mug, the giant oversized mug of the council estate, that is because my mother had been styling her fringe. It was going to be a big night for Kev that night. A big night. Big night for me dad. My mum's a goer. But that's who I was. You know, that's who I was. I'm a chav, a Ned, raised with love. And that's not who I am anymore. I find myself in moments where I don't recognise myself from the boy I was. Like just last summer, it was July last year, I found myself sat on a deck chair in a National Trust garden on my membership. And they had Wimbledon on the big screens, and I'm sat there watching the tennis. And I've got Invisalign braces in my teeth. And I was drinking Prosecco with a strawberry and the flute. And I was calling it a flute. And I took a look at myself for a moment. I was like, who the fuck is this cunt? What happened to me? I feel like I've been gentrified. You know what? That's why I lived in London for a little while. That's why I think I like East London, because it's a bit like me. I'm a little bit dilapidated, but never too far from an avocado. I feel like Jenny from the block. Don't be fooled by the spots on my cock. I have a cavapoo now. Do you know what that means? It's not a medical condition. It's actually a mixed breed dog. It's a mongrel. It's a cross between a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel and a poodle, because every dog is crossed with a poodle now. If it's not a cavapoo, then it's a cockapoo or a labradoodle. When did poodles become shaggers? That happened overnight. They're like the Pete Davidson of the dog world. And I've got one of the smaller of these poodle crosses, the cavapoo. It's just like a teddy bear's being breathed to life. And I used to make fun of men who had small dogs. This is who I was. When I was first driving, when I was 17 years old, if I was driving along and I saw a grown-ass man walking a Shih Tzu or a Chihuahua and I was driving by, I would wind down my window. I'd wind down my window because that's how fucking old I am. And I would sing this song. I wrote it myself. Sing along if you know the words. I'd go, your girlfriend picked your dog. Your girlfriend picked your dog. And then I would put my foot down and drive away, thinking I was great. Man, sometimes I wouldn't even have passengers in the car. That would just be for me. Self-love. That's who I was. I've changed now, though. I've grown. My wife picked my dog. And that's exactly what happened. Of course that's what happened. I travel with work doing this, and my wife works at home. I thought if she wanted a dog, she can choose which dog. I'm not going to let some misplaced masculinity have her looking after a big dog that she doesn't want, just so I can look hard when I come home. So she got this little dog and named her Peggy. You know from the musical Hamilton? Yeah? You know the Schuyler sisters, the Aunt Peggy? I watch musicals now, too. But I just thought this would be Natalie's dog, and I would come home and I'd help out a little bit. But I've never had a dog before. I didn't understand the bond until now. I get it now. I understand now. I understand expensive vet bills now. My friends who had animals, when they told me how expensive, that thousands of pounds they would spend on surgery for their animals, I would look at them with wide eyes, like, why don't you just get a bag of rocks, throw them in the river, get a new one, it's cheaper, life hack. Not now, man. Not now. That's who I was. Now the vet could say any amount of money. I'd find the money. I'd sell essential household appliances. I wouldn't need a washing machine. You know, I'd be looking at my wife like, we've got 4 kidneys. Between us, we could sell one of those. And I'm just going to put it out there. Mine's are drug damaged. Over to you, baby. Like, seriously, if the vet locked the door and said, I will do life-saving surgery to save Peggy if you suck my dick, I'd be like, how many dicks have you got? I'll suck all of them. Get your cocks out, I'll play them like the panpipes, mate. Fucking fix me, dog. And my wife thinks I love my dog too much. She caught me in a compromising situation with her, and I found it difficult to explain my way out of. Let's just say there's more than one reason why she's called Peggy. That's not what happened. But this is the reality. This is what happened, right? Every morning when I get out of bed, I go downstairs and Peggy stays in the kitchen and I crouch down and I give her a cuddle in the morning and she starts licking my face. And I don't like this when this happens because I've seen what else she licks. So I try to make that stop. And the way I've worked out to make the licking stop is to make exaggerated kissing noises in her ear. And when I make this noise right next to her ear, nice and loud, she stops licking. She goes docile. She gives me the side eye. And she's like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm not against it. And she says that. And we'll have time for a cuddle without me getting my face wet. But on this one particular morning, I'd rejoined the gym. I'd been doing deadlifts. I don't know who the fuck I think I am, but I'm 39 years old, and I had a bad back. And because of my back, what happened is I walked downstairs, my usual routine, and when I crouched down, I let out a low moan as I went, mwah, 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 and just witnessed my wife watch me sexually assault the dog. And I couldn't even say anything about it. I was just like, it's exactly how it looks. That's what was happening. That's what I did. Oh, and Peggy started her first period recently. She started her first period on the very same day as my wife, and that blew my fucking mind. That can't happen. And let's just make it clear, it wasn't my wife's first period. I'm not a monster. But they synchronized, and that can't happen. Girls, I get it, right? I understand. If you work together, if you live together, if you spend enough time in each other's company, our body clocks can synchronize. I don't understand it, but it's not lost on me. I'm aware of it, right? But not cross-species. You're on a different cycle. Like, bitches are on a period for 1 week every month, and dogs have theirs. Of course I'm joking, you know I'm joking. Girls, I still find the word bitch jarring. I grew up listening to rap music. I've only ever known that word as a misogynistic slur. And now when I hear it, right, I'll be out walking Peggy, and I'll bump into, it's always an older Scottish man walking a big dog that he picked himself. And I'll get into the small talk. And I'm just like, he's always like, oh, how old is she? I'll be like, she's nearly 1. He'll be like, she is a bitch, isn't she? I'll be like, fuck you, she's a lovely girl. Fucking you're a bitch. Come on, Peggy. Don't listen to this, bitch. But look, I should have known Peggy was coming into heat, right? It caught me off guard, but I should have known because there was telltale signs. The first sign was that she was pissing multiple times on every walk. Like, it used to just be one piss and she was done when she was a little puppy, and then it was like 5 and 6 times, 10 times. Every couple of steps, she was taking a little spritz of piss. I thought she was diabetic back then. I thought I was going to be sucking dick for insulin back then. But it turns out I had nothing to worry about. That's how dogs communicate with each other when they're in season. They're leaving little spritzes of piss, but that's filled with DNA or something, and other dogs can smell it, and they're giving away little bits of information about themselves. I don't know the science. This is just what I've heard. And I didn't know that she was on her socials when I'm walking Peggy, and she's updating her Facebook status and shit. She's on WhatsApp. I didn't have any idea. Now I'm just watching her just strutting around. I find it so endearing when she's just like, psst, ASL. Psst, new number, who dis? Psst. I'm tired of backstabbing snakes and fake friends. It's just me and the kids from now on. I can't wait. I can't wait for like 2 years' time. I'm going to take her for a walk around the same park so she can smell her own piss like a Facebook time hop. You know, I'll just be walking her along and she'll be sniffing and she'll just be like, oh my God, I used to talk about myself in the third person. Car range. And then like 5 years later, oh my God, I used to say car range. And then like 10 years later, oh my God, look how young I looked before I had wheels. All right, that's where the line is. I found it. I'll step away from it. Hey, fess up. How many of you got the ASL reference? Yeah, most of you got it. Did you get it, sir? You didn't. I don't want to leave people behind, you know. First of all, how old are you, sir?
I am 67.
67, that probably explains it. It was a bit after your time, you know. And where are you from? You're from Northern California, and male?
I'm sorry.
Are you male? Are you a man? Age, sex, location. It's how people used to chat each other up on the internet. The generation after you, if there's anybody that's in their 20s right now that are learning this for the first time, that's how your mum met your dad. That's how we'd chat each other up. You'd be like, age. First of all, how old are you? I'm not Prince Andrew. Second of all, sex. What's your gender? I know what I'm looking for, and it's not friends. Can we fuck? And while we're at it, can I get there? What's your location? You know, location as well, it's so formal. It's like, what are your coordinates? I'm horny. So that was the first sign that I knew Peggy was coming into season, was that she was pissing multiple times on every walk, and I didn't pick up on that one. The next sign I picked up on straight away. The boy dogs on the estate started acting predatory towards her, and I didn't like it. We're in this little patch of woodland near mine, and she's off the lead, and she's running around. You know, our recall wasn't great, but we're far enough away from a road to give her a try. So she's off the lead, she's running around. She sees this other dog. She loves socialising, so she runs up to this massive dog as well. She's fearless. And she runs up to this dog. The dog looks at her, and then they do that thing where they sniff each other's bums, because that's how they say hello. But then once this big dog gets a sniff, it angled around and went to mount Peggy, and I have never moved so fast in my fucking life. I flew through the air. I mean, it was slow motion for me. I was like, Peggy, no. And I just glide through the air like I'm taking a bullet in an action movie. And I separate the two dogs, and I get in between them, and I rescue Peggy from what was just about to happen to her. And I thought that would make the big dog stop. But it just took one look at me and went, ah, fuck it, you'll do. And started pumping me. I was like, I didn't know dogs like droop. And I was down there on the floor of the woods getting fucked by this dog. And I played it back in my head, and I think I moved too fast. I looked keen. I looked like I wanted it. I looked like I'd ran up like, Peggy, fuck off, this one's mine. Do me. Do me. And it was leg day too, so I didn't move quietly. I was like, ah, mwah, mwah. This usually makes it stop. Mwah. All right, I'm getting fucked by a dog on stage. I'm an artist, you know, this is my art. But I'm going somewhere with this. That changed me that day. That changed me that day. Not because of what happened to me, because of what nearly happened to Peggy. You know, I had Peggy back on the lead, and I'm walking back, and I'm chatting to Natalie, my wife. I'm just like, this is some bullshit. She just wanted to play, and that boy dog just wanted to fuck her. And my wife just went, uh-huh. And I was like, no, you don't understand. She just wants to learn new things and have treats and socialise, and she keeps getting pestered by all of the boys. And my wife's like, uh-huh. And I was like, and if she did have sex with that boy dog can just fuck off being a dog, and she's left with a biological burden of what's about to happen. And my wife's like, uh-huh. And that's when the glass shattered, and I just looked at my beautiful wife with tears in my eyes, and I was like, fuck. It must be so hard being a dog. I see you, ladies. I really see you. I just have to make jokes because it's my job. But I know my wife's had a different life to me, you know. And my wife is far more attractive than I am. I don't know how I've done it. I don't ask any questions. I'm just really glad it's happening. You know, and she's so much better than me in so many other ways that you can't see. Like, she's funnier and she's smarter. But I know there's a difference between us from the outside looking in, visibly, because strangers point it out in the street sometimes. I get put in my place by passers-by. In the first couple of times it happened early in the relationship, I'll be honest, it did make me feel insecure. But then I changed my perspective, and now I welcome it. And I remember the exact moment when this happened. We were in Ibiza on holiday, and she was getting into the taxi at the end of the night out. She looked stunning, she always does. And as she's getting into the taxi, I'm about to climb in when I hear these three young men in their early 20s shout over to me in unison. So they must have clicked themselves in for the timing. Punching! He's punching! Which, if you don't know, that means punching above your weight. It means I'm in the wrong division. It's a sporting reference, and I got it. And at first, I was wounded, and I felt the need to look at these men, insult them back based on their appearance, but then the penny dropped, and I went, no, don't be offended, be flattered. That right there, that's a compliment. And I just went, I know! I don't even have a big dick! I'm as confused as you are. Just wait until the year 2020. She's going to support me financially too. Yeah, that was real. And hey, we didn't have children in lockdown. That was a hobby a lot of people had to keep for 18 years. We didn't have children in lockdown, but she stopped taking the pill recently. Can we talk about this for a second? She stopped taking the pill, but we're not trying for a baby. Figure that one out, if you can. I've just started wearing condoms now. It's a lifestyle choice. Not now, I'm not wearing a condom now. Don't make it look like I've got a condom on. You've got to be careful how you word these things. I wear condoms when required. Because Natalie and I had a discussion about the pill, I discovered she doesn't enjoy taking it. It makes her feel emotional and hormonal. And she felt like she was taking the pill out of necessity. And as soon as I discovered this, I looked at the other options available. And the first option I looked at wasn't the condoms. That's the option I settled upon. The first option I looked into was the male pill, the pill for men. I thought there was one. There isn't. Or they made one, and it worked, which is why I'd heard of it. It just never got put into supply for us men to use because not all of the male test subjects lasted the course of the clinical trials. They quit because of the side effects. Can you believe that? All of those men pulled out. Get past it. Get over that bitter irony and let's look at why the men pulled out of the clinical trials for the male pill. I read the article to my wife from my phone. It said 48% of the men got acne, didn't enjoy the blemishes upon their pretty little faces and quit the trial because of the acne. That was the first reason. The second reason was weight gain. 86% of the men put on between 2 and 4 pounds every month. Boo fucking who. Didn't enjoy the weight gain, quit the trial, rendered the trial inconclusive. So that's the first two, acne and weight gain. You're going to love the third one. All of the men, 100% of the men who tried the male pill, prone to mood swings. And when I read this article out to Natalie, I looked up at her fat, spotty face. Who's punching now, motherfucker? Well, let's just say she was having a mood swing. Full house. It's the same side effects. Ladies, I'm not making fun of my beautiful wife. I'm pointing out the same side effects. You have been resilient to all of the adverse side effects that your pill has had to offer for all of the years, decades. It's been readily available for you to just pick up and use. But it's like as soon as scientists give men our pill just to try, they just went, oh no, we can't give this to people. Does that not make you mad? Yeah, it should. I was mad for you. I was mad with you. I was reading it. I was like, women are people too. I mean, men are people one, but women are people too. Good. I couldn't finish the sentence. But there's a problem. The problem is it should be a level playing field, you know. It could be a level playing field, but it isn't. So until the day it's available for either of us to use, we've boycotted, and I've suggested I'd wear condoms until that day, all day, every day. And I suggested the condoms, but if I can be honest with you, I wish I'd shut my fucking mouth. I've changed everything. The whole dynamic in the bedroom has shifted. I had it too good for too long, and I didn't even know it. It used to be that after sex, when I was finished, I used to be finished. Now I've got fucking jobs to do. Now she's finished. She rolls over and gets comfortable and just leaves me in the dark, fumbling a knot in a slimy balloon. Like the most grim arts and crafts you've ever seen. Like, I've made a giraffe. Its neck's broken. I can't get the neck. Who am I kidding? It's a squirrel. It's a squirrel. But I'm stuck with it, you know? Like, I'll sometimes look at her like it's an us problem. Like, is it your turn to take the trash out? Like, is it? Fuck. This is a me problem. I'm like a cat with a dead bird. Like, I brought you a gift. This is on me every time. Every time. I've got to get out of bed. These are my jobs. I go into the bathroom. I wrap it up in toilet roll. And then I put it in the bin, not the toilet. It comes back to haunt you. If you put it down the toilet, I'm not making that mistake 4 times. Throw it out in the garbage. And then I wash my cock in the sink. I feel like I've stopped doing stand-up comedy now. I'm just telling you about me day. I wash my cock in the sink, then I dry my cock on her dressing gown. What? I cleaned it, remember, I washed it, step 2, clean dick. And then I come back through to the bedroom and Natalie is fast asleep. It's a role reversal. I understand, I get it, it's her turn, I understand that, but I miss it because that used to be my thing. That used to be me, you know that, right? I used to roll over and get comfortable while she did this kind of undignified dance to the bathroom. You know the sex waddle? Don't act like you don't all know the sex waddle. This is an everybody joke. Even your grandma can enjoy this joke. Oh, don't think about that for too long, but it was a good time, your gran. Everybody liked that. It's the sex waddle. We all know it. That was Natalie. She would run off doing the sex waddle. She used to leave a trail. Oh, grow up. This is life. She was like a wounded deer. She could scurry off into any room in the house and I could track her down like a good huntsman. Like, I think she came through this way. Yeah, she definitely came this way. That's still warm. But it actually tastes okay. I don't know what she's complaining about. She used to ask me for a sock. After sex, before the condoms got introduced, Kai, please hand me a sock. And that wasn't to put over to stop the drips either, nah. That was to pull onto one foot to drag behind her on the way to the bathroom. Yeah, correct. That is disgusting. That is disgusting. You're right. You're right. Now, we didn't have babies in lockdown. We barely survived lockdown. That was a fucked up year, 2020. I still haven't unpacked it yet, right? Like, let's look in this box of 2020 right now, right? It started off with Australia burning. Before the pandemic had really been conceived, Australia was on fire. What a strong start to a shit year. A lot of people forgot that's how we got off the blocks. Is any Australian people in tonight? All dead. All dead. Just one really dry cough at the back of the room. Trying to say yes, but just the smokes. No, but that was fucked up, man. We're like, laughing about tragedy here. But I was watching the news and I was just like, fuck, man, I shouldn't have left the streetlights burning for 30 years. It's partly on me, that. So then Australia's on fire on the news, and then the pandemic hit, and people lost their lives, people lost their livelihoods. The less we think about it, the better. I'm sorry for bringing it back up. And then while we're figuring out how much our lives are going to change, the Black Lives Matter marches were happening all over the globe. And I found out through social media and Facebook that some of my friends and family were white supremacists. And even though people were actually dying, I had to say goodbye to loved ones who are still alive. Fuck them. And then this next thing that happened wasn't as bad as everything that come before it, but it still hurt. Then Liverpool won the English Premier League. And it was all because of that bitch Carol Baskin. What a strong year. And I don't just want to brush over that summer, right? Because there was so much thinly veiled racism that summer. Look, racism was everywhere, and it still is now, and it's not going to go away in a hurry. But at the time, people were getting confident in that racism. But nobody would actually go ahead and admit being racist. In fact, some people would start the sentence that they were about to say with, "I am not racist." And then they would say, "But." It's that word, "but," isn't it? Do you not think it really devalues everything that comes before it? It really does. I've thought this through, you know. There's not a word in the English language that makes the sentence, "I am not racist," sound more racist than the word "but." There isn't one. I've thought it through. This is the closest I could come up with. And it's not even a close second. If you were to say, "I am not racist," psych. It's less racist. I don't know how, but it is. And if you don't believe me, try it with other things, right? There's some people here in couples tonight, you look cozy anyway. If you've had a laugh, you've had a couple of drinks. When you get through the door tonight in your hotel or your house, right, you look your partner, your loved one, your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, you look them dead in the eye with a smile on your face and say, "I love you, but..." And you just watch their face as they could not give a flying fuck about the first three words. They just want to know why they hate you. They want to know what's coming next. And if you're still not on board, try it with this one. I dare you. Try it in public. "I am not a paedophile." I don't know if you heard what I said. I want to make myself clear. I am not a paedophile. I don't need to say the punchline. It's in the air. It's above your heads. You all just sat there like, "I feel a little butt coming." Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't feel a little butt. I am not a paedophile, but these boys keep turning up at the end of my drive and shouting my name. Like, "Fuck off, you did something, Terry. You did something." The kids know, "Get in the van. It's your turn to get in the van." All right, I'm going to tell you this story before I go, right? When I moved up to Glasgow, I joined this gym, and I'd never used the gym before, right? And I was training. Remember earlier in the show when I told you I joined a gym and I was doing deadlifts? You can't simply join a gym without telling people. So I've got a new gym and I'm having a workout, and I was doing sit-ups at the end of my session, and I was in my own world, you know, when you're just in your own head, you're working out, doing crunches, and then as I'm working out, I got approached by this big Glaswegian man, this big Scottish man, about 6'6", built like a tank. He just stood over me and in a thick Glaswegian accent, which I won't attempt, just went, "Where's your towel?" And I fucking shat myself. I was like, I don't even want a shower. Are you my boyfriend now? I'm scared. How does this work? And he realised he'd give me a fright, and he stepped back and he apologised, and it worked. It turned out this man worked at the gym. He had a small logo on his polo shirt that I just simply couldn't see from that angle. But when he stepped back, it became apparent, and he apologised to me. And he said, "I'm sorry, sir. You need to bring a towel to this gym to mop the sweat off the mats, off the machines. It's for hygiene purposes. Carry on training today. But next time you use the gym, please do remember to bring a towel." And I remember to bring a towel, right? But when I got to the airing cupboard, I noticed there was just the beach towels at the bottom. You know, when you've had a slow laundry week and you get to the towels you never normally get to? And I had to grab a SpongeBob SquarePants beach towel. big threadbare SpongeBob SquarePants beach towel over my shoulder, and I was spanking around this gym looking like a tourist. And then I spotted my man across the gym, and I went to show him my towel. I was like, you know how just sometimes we're just proud of being compliant? It was one of them moments. I was like, I've got my towel. I brought my towel today. And when he turned around to have a look, it was a different man. I'm showing the wrong man my towel. And I don't get embarrassed easily as a person. That's not who I am. You've already known me long enough to know I don't get embarrassed. But in this moment, I was a little bit embarrassed. And then I realized I was more than embarrassed. I'd made a huge mistake. An honest mistake, but a big one. Because even though both of these men were the same height, same physique, both had the same haircut, both of the men worked at the gym. The thing is, both of the men were black. So I couldn't say to him, I'm sorry, sir, you look like somebody else. Because then I'd look racist. And I'm not racist, but... There's not a but coming. I stopped myself. There's not a but coming. However, I didn't want to look racist, so instead I went around that gym and I showed everybody else my towel. I've got my towel. I brought my towel today. SpongeBob, who lives in a pineapple under the sea. So yeah, that gym membership was a waste of money because I only went twice. You can't go back after that. It's also deeply inappropriate to continue that act. Ladies and gentlemen of London, you've been fucking awesome. Good night.